Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be looking at something that requires a ton of speculation. We are now a mere 2 weeks away from E3 and I could not be more excited if I tried. I hit my wit's end when February's Direct came along, so I must come out and say that I'm already at those stages of hype. But enough of all that. Let's get into what I'm talking about today. That is, presuming that Breath of the Wild 2 is definitely shown off at E3, then what could I see them showing us? Just to throw a couple of examples out there so you understand the concept, things like a name and what I could see a trailer for the game actually showing us, gameplay wise rather than cinematically. Of course today I'll talk about those two a little bit and a few more details about the game that they might be able to give us. Some of you may be thinking, but trends, exactly how can you speculate on this? How can you even make a somewhat educated guess? And my only answer would be, as we do a lot on this channel, looking back at the past and seeing what they've done before this game. By no means will this video tell you exactly what will be at E3 for Breath of the Wild 2, which is why I've specifically titled it What Could Be Shown at E3, because I don't actually have any idea. This is just working out from the past, so with all of that out of the way, let's get into exactly what could be shown. First of all, I'm probably the worst of all of them, no, definitely the worst, nothing at all. I don't want to jinx this, but I seriously do think that we've reached the end of the wait for Breath of the Wild sequel on news. I've talked about this a little in previous videos, but there are things Aonuma said that allude to us getting news at E3, along with that, there are the insane amount of rumours going around about the Switch Pro recently. Many have said that something may be shown for the Switch Pro before E3, and I'm cautious with this stuff nowadays, but it is absolutely plausible. I mean, Nintendo have normally announced the Direct for E3 by this time. With all of these reports and leaks going around, to me it seems like the perfect opportunity to drop in a very quick Switch Pro trailer, revealing the design of it and stuff like that, and then dropping the date of the E3 Direct. I also think they would justify this by saying that more news on the Nintendo Switch Pro, or whatever it'll be called, will be at the E3 Direct on this date, which I think will be the 15th of June by the way, and what better game to have released alongside the Switch Pro than the series that opened up the generation for Nintendo and really brought them back into the game after the Wii U. The Legend of Zelda. And considering both times the Switch has had a new model come out, with the original Switch and the Switch Lite, we've also seen two Zelda games come out, Breath of the Wild and Link's Awakening respectively. Now of course this is just a trend, and a very small one at that, but I believe it's worth noting that I think that it seems inevitable that the sequel to Breath of the Wild might come out at the same time as the Pro, which also means that if the leaks are to be believed, then we'll most likely see Breath of the Wild 2 marketed beside the Pro at E3, which I think would be an excellent idea. So how likely do I think it is that we get nothing? Well, really I would like to say that those odds are pretty low, but knowing the Zelda team it could go either way, so with that in mind I would give it an 80% chance of showing up at the E3 Direct. The timing seems right, everything seems right, let's just hope the Zelda team are ready to show us at least something from the newest game in the series. So that leads us right into our next topic. Could a name reveal be present in an E3 trailer? And out of everything that I'll note on this entire list, this definitely seems the most plausible. They could literally say nothing about the game and its actual theme whatsoever, which would be quite annoying since that's really all we want at the moment, I'll note. And they might just take the Bethesda route with Doom and Elder Scrolls logos. I doubt this will happen exactly, but what evidence do I have that a name reveal will be present at the showing? Well, this is an odd case where I do literally have no evidence whatsoever. My main piece of proof in this regard would be my own gut feeling, and to be honest I don't think that they would continue calling the Breath of the Wild sequel the Breath of the Wild sequel for all of its marketing. I think they would give us a name at the end of a trailer so we can properly identify it, and I will very quickly change all of my Breath of the Wild 2 titles to the title of the game. But I do think this would also let the name of the game settle in our minds, so that by the time it comes out, we're already ready for the name, which brings along another question. Could the release date be there? Well, no matter what, I would be expecting a release window at the very least, even if it simply says the first half of 2022 like the Pokemon Legends trailer stated. But for the most part, it really does depend on the planned release date. For example, Breath of the Wild didn't have a solid release date until the January presentation that was lined up for the Switch, though circumstances are different this time. But we didn't know the official release date for Breath of the Wild until January 2017. To put that into perspective, that is literally 3 months before the game actually came out. I've seen a lot of people say that Breath of the Wild sequel has no chance of coming out this year, but if that is anything to go by, then it could easily release aside a Switch Pro that's slated for the holidays. Honestly, September onwards would even be a pretty safe bet. Some people say that Breath of the Wild had way more trailers before it was given a release though, but if they're holding the game back away from us because of the Switch Pro, that just means there won't be any delays like Breath of the Wild. Thus, we would get the game at the end of the year. In a way, I hope it's slated for the start of next year, or just next year in general, because I want them to work on it for a long time to bring out the best game possible, but at the same time, I am really craving a new real Zelda game at the minute, and realistically, the game releasing this year doesn't seem likely, but it definitely doesn't seem unlikely. We'll hopefully just have to wait and see in 2 weeks' time. Finally, and something I could talk anyone's ear off about, the actual trailer itself if we do end up getting one. Again, I feel obligated to say that this is a whole load of speculation. But what I will say is, while the next game will stray from the original game theming wise in a few areas by the looks of it, I still think that traversal options will be a huge part of the trailer. Say for example, there's a massive statue. There is no better way to portray that than having to see the hero climb the giant statue. And as an example, we saw a huge emphasis on climbing in the original trailer for Breath of the Wild. Now, I don't think that there would be as much of a look at the world around Hyrule, but more the dangers that lurk around it. And we may even get a very quick glimpse of the underground or something like that. Now, I'm a giant advocate for underwater exploration in Zelda games. Don't get me wrong, the Zelda team has never really done it that well, with the exception of probably Twilight Princess in my opinion in certain areas. But honestly, I really do think that it will be a giant missed opportunity, both trailer-wise and gameplay-wise. If the team is going to be introducing us to the caverns beneath the surface of Hyrule, then surely we could run into some areas in caves where water runs through them. Theoretically, if these areas do exist, then we might be greeted to the trailer in a very similar way that PlayStation fans were greeted to Horizon Forbidden West. Perhaps with Link swimming past the camera, or Link just swimming in general. This would start the trailer off similarly to the last game, and past that I think that the trailer would show off different things that we specifically asked for from the last game. For example, the camera could pan around different enemies like Redeads or Darknuts that Link can encounter in the new game. Maybe it could feature Link taking down some of these new bad guys, and here would be the real kicker. Imagine if the trailer pans around the inside of a dungeon or two, showing us traditional dungeons, or at least dungeons that are themed similarly to how the older games were formulated. I personally think that this trailer would have a great emphasis on the enemies around you, the foes around you, and some of the darker places throughout the game. And honestly, I really do think that it will be my dream trailer for Breath of the Wild 2. So do I think a full trailer will happen? Well, I actually do believe so, but I am an optimist with this stuff, so take it with a grain of salt, and place it at a 50-50 chance. Considering the time frame, it seems like the perfect time, but we'll have to see. Tell me down in the comments exactly what you think Nintendo will show us about the sequel to Breath of the Wild. Make it as realistic as possible, as I'd love to see some of your guys' takes. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, then please do like the video and subscribe, which also calls for a quick thanks for 1,500 subscribers, so thank you so much. The people you can see on screen right now are amazing, and Sumji is just the coolest dude in all of Hyrule, as he's my top paying patron. If you'd like to join these names on screen, then you can do by checking the link to my Patreon in the description and pledging just £1 or $1.50 a month, or even more if you're feeling mighty generous. Along with that link is the link to my other media platforms, so follow me on them if you'd like to keep up with me. With all of the stress gone out of my private life for now, the action of E3 is building up on the channel. Let's keep going with one last push next week before the conferences start. For the last time, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week. Please do stay safe.